Oh yes, Barbie, a movie that sports feminist and female-centric ideals, beat Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer at the worldwide box office as I speak, as of today. Barbie has officially crossed $1 billion at the box office. Meanwhile, Oppenheimer just touched $500 million. We could say with perfect diction that Christopher Nolan is one of Hollywood's best front-running male filmmakers. And Greta Gerwig is an interesting newbie female director with 3 strong films in her directorial. Lady Bird, her first movie, was made back in 2017 with a budget of $10 million.
It's my parents' number.
You don't have a cell phone?
Nah.
Good girl.
The film grossed around $80 million box office worldwide. The film's plot revolved around a coming-of-age story about a mother and her small-town daughter. A very small story with extremely feminine messages. This movie put Greta Gerwig on the map at Hollywood. Greta also happens to be a failed actor whose career never flew high. But her first solo directorial itself gained enough clout. Her second directorial was the multi-star Little Women, a film that featured Saoirse Ronan, Emma Watson, Florence Pugh, Timothée Chalamet, Meryl Streep, and Bob Odenkirk, another American coming-of-age period drama film taking place during the 19th century. The plot was again another feminist message and other patriarchy bad virtue signaling. The film had a budget of $40 million and grossed around $218.9 million worldwide till date.
I have loved you ever since I've known you, Joe. I couldn't help it. And I tried to show and you wouldn't let me, which is fine. No. But I must make you here now and give me an answer because I cannot go on like this any longer. I gave up billiards. I gave up everything you didn't like. I'm happy I did. It's fine. And I waited and I never complained because I figured you'd love me, Joe.
A huge success for a director with 2 movie credits under her belt, and how finally Barbie, her latest directorial, with a budget of around $150 million, grossing $1 billion worldwide as we speak. Christopher Nolan is a well-known name in the filmmaking business. His films and his style of filmmaking is synonymous around the sphere of cinema, dark and gloomy dramas. His latest Oppenheimer had a budget of $100 million and has grossed around $500 million as we speak. His first directorial following grossed around $50,000. A black and white mystery drama that came out back in 1998. His second film was Memento, about a man suffering from memory loss, grossed around $40 million with a budget of $8 million back in 2000.
You're a clue, you freak.
Beg my wife's forgiveness before I blow your brains out.
Leonard, you don't know what's going on. You don't even know my name.
Teddy.
That's because you read it off a fucking picture. You don't know who you are.
Christopher Nolan's third directorial had a budget of $46 million with box office that peaked at $114 million. The film was a psychological thriller called Insomnia. These films garnered attention for then young Chris Nolan, but it was really Batman Begins that put Christopher Nolan in the Hollywood maps. The film had a budget of around $150 million and grossed close to $400 million worldwide. This superhero movie brought in thousands of new audience members for Christopher Nolan's dark and realistic take of the Bat vigilante. This is the film that put Nolan in Hollywood peak fame, similar to Greta Gerwig's Barbie, though Barbie made 3 times the amount of money that Batman Begins made.
What the hell are you?
I'm Batman.
Nolan later went on to make 2 Batman sequels that crossed the billion-dollar marks and a couple of art house war and sci-fi dramas that grossed $500 million each. So what made Barbie so successful, and how did it beat Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer? First and foremost, the Barbie movie had enough intrigue from adult audience members. People felt like the film was for children, a film about a doll, a silly cartoon kind of a movie, similar to the Minions craze a few years ago, where adults and teenagers dressed up in suits to go watch that children's movie. It was like a TikTok trend that washed up everywhere because of social media algorithms. Soon we got to see teenagers and young men participating in the said Minions TikTok trend, dressed up in suits to watch the silly kids movie. Trends on TikTok and YouTube create enough traffic for influencers, and so all of TikTok and Instagram clout chasers run behind said trend, and that creates enough noise in the social media circles. More views, more followers, and on the cycle repeats.
I count money.
Barbie and Oppenheimer received similar social media craze, Barbie being the silly childish alternative movie about a girl doll, and Oppenheimer being a war drama directed by a front-running serious Hollywood director Christopher Nolan. Barbie movie was the real front-runner for $1 billion from the very start. Christopher Nolan's sci-fi drama Tenet came out during 2020. Coronavirus lockdowns, Warner Brothers launched that movie in their HBO Max streaming platform during 2020. This caused enough trouble with Nolan that led to him leaving his home studio Warner Brothers, with whom he's always made movies with. Christopher Nolan packed his bags and moved to Universal Studios.
You know what? You should pack your suit, just in case. I have a tingle about it.
Please stop saying tingle, May.
Oppenheimer is the first film Nolan didn't make with Warner Brothers producing and distributing. Meanwhile, Barbie is a film from Warner Brothers, so initially this caused enough chatter in social medias about Christopher Nolan's feud with Warner Brothers. Now I don't blame Nolan. My man has been making event films one after the other since The Dark Knight. My man always creates films with enough passion that his movies are events at theaters. His movies can compete with superhero and other blockbuster popcorn movies. His movies always gross more than 500 or even 600 million worldwide. Dude makes IMAX movies and only shoots on film cameras and not regular new age digital cameras.
We shoot on 70mm. The other format we use is 70mm IMAX. It's the highest quality imaging format ever devised. It gives you an incredible sense of immersion in the image.
Christopher Nolan loves cinema and respects his audience enough to work hard to make event films for his audience. Unlike many directors like Taika Waititi and the makers of the Witcher Netflix series, who hate the source material and their original fandom, the female filmmakers of the Witcher Netflix series, they hated the original male fans of the game so much that they decided to give an outright middle finger to those fans, calling them racist or sexist anytime the original fans complain about the show deviating from the source material. They'd rather virtue signal and remove Henry Cavill for speaking out against the makers, the lead actor of the show who carried the garbage show on his back. The man who was such a fan of the source material that he had to quit the show to reflect his perspective. The showrunners shamelessly removed Henry Cavill and replaced him with one of the Hemsworth brothers, whoever was free, and let's not get started with Taika Waititi, the Marvel Disney employee who shits of male audience members by calling them names and even disrespecting Zack Snyder and other filmmakers for their director's cut.
I watch director's cuts from a lot of other directors. They suck. Director's cuts are not good. Directors need to be controlled sometimes.
You don't say!
Meanwhile, making garbage movies like Thor: Love and Thunder that broke the MCU machine. The film destroyed and ruined storylines and male characters in the name of subverting expectations of core Marvel fans. Taika Waititi even wasted an actor like Christian Bale, who in the midst of this garbage movie delivered his best performance as Gore, the so-called God Butcher, who on screen never butchered any gods. Chris Hemsworth was sidelined for the sake of female Thor, another Mary Sue female MCU sidekick we've come to see in these MCU movies and TV shows. Anyways, compared to filmmakers who make garbage woke movies and TV shows, among this heap of mediocrity and woke nonsense, Christopher Nolan never disrespects his audience. He never dumps heaps of woke nonsense, nor does he parrot left-wing, politically correct communist nonsense onto his audience, who by now are familiar with his way of filmmaking and trust in his creative mind to produce quality cinema experience. Christopher Nolan is one among very few directors who, by the thought of watching one of his films, makes me excited to the edge of my seat. I trust in his ability. Just like how I trust Tom Cruise in providing quality cinema, we know by now that filmmakers and artists like Christopher Nolan and Tom Cruise produce cinema to the best of their abilities.
How did you break a leg? So let's look at it from the side.
No. We shot it with 3 cameras.
Okay, here he goes, and boom!
Barbie, on the other hand, is made by Greta Gerwig, a filmmaker who has been grifting on mainstream theories and ideas of feminism and other female-centric, ideologically possessed social movements. A large group of people in Hollywood grift on such ideas for their films, as these ideas carry emotional weight that makes audiences blindly support such films. Having deeper emotionally manipulative subjects that comes with enough passion that these films get carried by such social movements, having such ideologies such as feminism, or communism, or socialism, or even transgender acceptance, LGBTQ plus activism, or whatever other new social movements.
I will never apologize for standing up
for an LGBTQ2+.
Films with such ideologies get boosted by audience reviews and glamorous reviews and new articles written by all of Hollywood left-wing newspapers and journalists. These activist journalists consider themselves saviors of social and political movements, experts whose opinions are more valuable than average citizens. Hollywood elites have always been politically left-wing clowns, since most of their audiences are from Democratic Party majority cities and states, New York, Los Angeles, California, or San Francisco. All left-wing states and cities filled with virtue-signaling left-wing communist propagandists. People who live in the most comfortable cities and states where the safety of their homes and the privilege of wealth makes them sprout enough guilt that makes them want to support garbage left-wing politics. These people are guilty of their privileged, safe lives that they vote for the most open-handed lefty politics, socialism, open borders, limited religious institutional powers over the state or laws, accepting refugees and other socialist semi-communist propaganda and policies. Children who grow up in these cities with parents who are guilty of what they have financially over people who don't have their communal and financial nets. These children grow up rebelling against the system and their parents, falling more into the left-wing rabbit hole.
You're a big fan of fishing.
I do love fishing. Yes, I do.
What?
Yeah, I'd love to be a fisherman.
What, like a fly fisherman?
I'd be any type of fisherman. I think I would like to, one day I'd just like to end my days fishing. Like
we can solve that out.
Do you fly fishing? Or like...
I do it on the sea and I do it in the lakes. I've never done it alone.
Fisher them.
Such kids and parents are susceptible towards films and other social entertainment properties that sprout left-wing and far-left politics. Movies like Barbie that comes and exploits such left-wing guilt happens to rake in more revenue on these left-wing political guilt trap movies. Shows and music that takes advantage of susceptible young new adults and super guilty middle-class Californians who mean well but support blind-sided leftist policies that destroys their communities. Up in San Francisco and California, policies that turn their cities and homes into drug-induced, crime-filled waste towns and states. Places where these people eventually leave because of politics they voted for, leaving to more conservative states that has less crime and less taxes. But eventually these idiot lefties and their spoiled kids turn these conservative states into another left-wing garbage ideologically possessed crime-filled states and cities. Greta Gerwig's Barbie follows these left-wing political ideologies and panders to such audience members who live in these left-wing states and cities. The story of Barbie movie follows a Barbie world where the entire political system is that of a female-led matriarchy where women rule and dominate politics and political decision-making. Meanwhile, men or the patriarchs simply exist as mere man-babies or man-childs who fight over the attention of alpha females.
You set the feminist movement back 50 years. You destroy girls' innate sense of worth, and you are killing the planet with your glorification of rampant consumerism.
The alpha male among all the Kens is Ryan Gosling's super gorgeous blonde Ken, who is a complete and utterly pathetic Ken who simps over the white blonde alpha Barbie played by Margot Robbie. A perfect flawless queen who's simped over by infinite number of Kens. Of course, it feels like the writers and filmmakers who are all female. It feels like they've shot representation of how much women love the attention of gorgeous-looking men. It feels like a confession from Greta Gerwig and the other female writers and filmmakers. A confession of how much they love male attention, that too attention from the most gorgeous, the fairest of the Kens. A confession of how much the matriarchal woman love male gaze. The very same male gaze they've been complaining about. Women love attention from men, attention that too from the best-looking men only.
You're Ken. But it's Barbie and Ken. There is no just Ken. That's why I was created. I only exist within the warmth of your gaze.
They're Kenning all over the place. They're Kenning all over each other. They're Kenning everywhere. And they're Kenning so hard that they're gonna Ken themselves blind if they don't stop Kenning.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
Any other sort of attention from lesser-looking men who would be deemed toxic and creepy at face value. Attention from such men are unwelcomed as the top minority of men, and their complete submission, aka simping, is shown as welcomed and loved by Greta Gerwig and her Barbies. In the story Barbie leaves Barbie world, she travels to the real world where its expository answers dumped onto the audiences that it's a patriarchal world where men dominate all the power. These silly white men in suits control the lives of the Mattel Barbies, the real-world company that owns Barbie dolls. Mattel is shown as a representation of the man-ruled patriarchal Earth. That's completely dominated by white men, and the rest of the people are suffering from their evil puppeteering. The characters dump expository dialogues onto the audience. Show don't tell rule of filmmaking was completely ignored. Greta Gerwig chose to dump dialogues after tired dialogues onto her audience about patriarchy and how evil that is, but accidentally showed patriarchy as a cool and awesome alternative to women-ruled matriarchy. The men of Barbie Land or Ken seem to love patriarchy, and it seems to work just fine without women leading the fake fairy tale world. Anyways, after returning the Barbies plan and execute some sort of parliamentary action by showing up to Ken's home, as soon as they return everything goes back to female lead politics in Barbie Land. The film makes no sense. Why would the Kens just give up their right to organize and lead the political world in Barbie Land? The film makes no sense, nor does it follow any logic. At the end of the day, Barbie movie sucks, and is one of the worst movies I've seen in a while, one of the worst movies written and directed by a woman.
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way. I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
It's garbage cinema tailor-made for man-hating women who are jealous of all manly accomplishments that men have created in the real world. Just useless female participants of the world who hate and love hating on men for no reason. That is the sort of people who love and support a man-hating movie like Barbie. There is nothing wrong with the male-led patriarchy. There is nothing wrong with natural hierarchies that exist by law. Barbie movie pretends to say that the real world is a world made and ruled by white men or men in general. Characters outright say that they hate the men-led world and they want a female-led world instead. Meanwhile, if the world was in fact built by men and white men alone, then there is nothing wrong with it. You as women are free to choose your leaders. You as women are free to choose your profession.
Rachel Zegler, who's been cast to play Snow White in the Disney live-action remake.
I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
Yeah, I got that on video.
No.
Free to choose your lifestyle and your life partners if you want any at all. It seems like there is nothing wrong with the man-led world or man-made world. It's just a small minority of women who are jealous and butthurt about men organizing and building the world that we live in. Just a bunch of middle-aged cat moms and silly teenage girls who find it easy to trash men and their accomplishments for fun or to man-hate. Just a bunch of crybabies with vaginas. Get a life. Stop whining about men and get on with your lives. If you want to be leaders of the free world, men have gained freedom of speech and freedom to choose our leaders through the democratic process. Women are welcome to compete and choose your leaders and the paths you'd like our world to move forward in. Just stop hating on us men for building the world and constructing everything you see around you, like Jordan Peterson once said.
Give them this message that it's okay to be a man.
It's not okay. It's necessary. What the hell are we going to do without men? You look around the city here, you see all these buildings go up. These men, they're doing impossible things. They're under the streets, working on the sewers. They're up on the power lines in the storms and the rain. They're keeping this impossible infrastructure functioning, this thing that works in a miraculous manner. They work themselves to death. The gratitude for that is sorely lacking, especially among the people who should be most grateful. You see university professors, especially of the social justice bent, who are among the most protected and privileged people that the world has ever produced. They take everything they have for granted, failing to understand entirely that there's a massive infrastructure of unbelievably hardworking, solidly laboring, working-class men breaking themselves in half on a regular basis, making sure that everything that always breaks works.
Men build the world, and women and other genders are absolutely ungrateful. Shame on you. Meanwhile, the Oppenheimer movie is the exact opposite of Barbie when it comes to its messaging and its portrayal of masculine men and their accomplishments. Oppenheimer is a manly movie. A masculine cinema experience, Oppenheimer has straight white male characters who are unashamedly masculine and straight. The film has almost no woman, nor does the film have any diversity hires. There are no black or mixed race diversity hires, nor are there any gay or LGBTQ representation. The movie made by Christopher Nolan is unashamedly masculine and pro-men. The film depicts men's desire to rule the world and solve complex political and philosophical problems of the early 20th century, wanting to stop Adolf Hitler, wanting to limit USSR, the Russian communists, a cinema experience that depicted the masculine camaraderie between great scientific minds of the early 20th century, Albert Einstein and Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, the bomb that ended all wars maybe forever.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Christopher Nolan doesn't give any fucks when it came to political correctness, nor did he care about having token black character or LGBTQ representation. My dude made a film as historically accurate as he can. The movie features very little female presence or LGBTQ++ characters as tokens. The movie, when compared to Barbie, was logically grounded and a movie that celebrated men and their achievements across history in the fields of science. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is another film that got buried under Barbenheimer, the film that had the biggest action movie star on the planet, Mr. Tom Cruise. The movie fridges Rebecca Ferguson as Ilsa Faust and adds new female character Hayley Atwell as Grace, a super hot and seductive Captain Carter from the MCU. The film has returning cast members like Ving Rhames as Luther Stickle, Simon Pegg as Benji Dunn, and Vanessa Kirby as Alana Mitsopoulos. Mission Impossible is another hardcore masculine film about male spies and some female spies who are hell-bent on saving the world from impossible tasks and impossible missions. Tom Cruise for a while has been on a success train, from Mission Impossible Fallout breaking $800 million worldwide to Top Gun Maverick breaking $1.4 billion worldwide. He's been riding cocktails of success for a while now, but even Tom Cruise got hit by the iceberg that is Barbenheimer.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Wait.
Everybody calm down!
Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 isn't as good as Mission Impossible Fallout, but the film doesn't deserve any hate. The film can and would stand on its own without any help from previous films. Dead Reckoning didn't have death-defying stunts like the Halo jump or Tom Cruise breaking his leg, nor did it have Henry Cavill as the villain. But the movie had Tom Cruise jumping from a hill wearing a parachute and a few car chase scenes. These are things we've seen him do before. And so this Mission Impossible movie felt like something we've seen before, unlike Oppenheimer and Barbie, both of them not being a part of any franchise, films that's been around for decades. Mission Impossible at this time and this space felt like an old experience which we've seen and experienced before. Meanwhile, Barbenheimer felt new and fresh. A new cinema experience that hasn't been experienced in theaters before. Meanwhile, Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible felt like an old milkshake that we've tried out before. Same old car chases. Same old Tom Cruise. It's no wonder the new Mission Impossible movie got buried under Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer and Greta Gerwig's Barbie.
God damn it, you fucking asshole.
Mission Impossible 7 was made for a budget of $300 million without marketing costs and has made only $500 million from worldwide box office, meaning the film is destined to flop and not make all of its money back for Paramount Studios. Tom Cruise and Paramount will have to find some other way to market their next film, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2. If they don't find new strategies, then the sequel would bomb and lose money as well. Let's hope Barbie's sequel starring Ken doesn't release alongside Mission Impossible 8.
Like, he tapped, he begged me, please, don't kill me, you know. Now he talk about rematch.
Tom Cruise's stardom evidently can't save nor fight Barbenheimer's marketing strength. Barbie has made more money than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which made close to $500 million, Thor: Love and Thunder $800 million, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 close to $800 million.
Which means it is a trap.
It's a face-off.
Mission Impossible 7 $500 million, Barbie has broken Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Part 2 record of $1.3 billion worldwide. Warner Brothers' highest grossing movie of all time. Barbie is Warner Brothers' highest grossing film at this speed and ferocity. Does the film deserve so much money? Absolutely not. On Metacritic.com, a movie review site that's trustworthy compared to Rotten Tomatoes, the film has user ratings of 5.1 score out of 10, which means the film is garbage when it comes to repeated watchability. The film doesn't hold up. The only reason the film made any money whatsoever is because of great PR from Warner Brothers and due to awesome teasers and trailers, along with best cast members Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie both pulled in audiences to watch the film in theaters. The fear of missing out also played its part. The best comparison I could make is with the movie The Joker that came out back in 2019, which broke $1 billion worldwide and is Warner Brothers' fifth highest grossing movie of all time with a budget of $70 million, one of the most successful comic book movies of all time. Why? Because the film had great trailers and marketing strategies. It felt like a new and improved cinema experience similar to Barbie. Something new and fresh, unlike Mission Impossible 7 or even MCU movies or The Flash or Shazam 2. The Flash even bombed in theaters, making less than $300 million worldwide. Less than its budget of $200 million plus marketing cost another $100 million. The film bombed and destroyed DC's brand image once again. At the end of the day, films like Barbie and Joker had great trailers that didn't disclose the entire plotline of their respective movies. Instead, the trailers caused enough intrigue and curiosity among the audience that they decided to show up to the cinemas for once-in-a-lifetime experience. Meanwhile, films like The Flash, Shazam 2, Mission Impossible 7.
What aren't you telling me?
You don't understand what you're involved in.
I don't understand what I'm involved in. I don't understand what I'm involved in. What am I involved in?
Ant-Man 3 Quantumania bombed because they seemed like movies and shows that we've seen 100 times before. Thank you for watching this video. Now people do let me know, why do you think Barbie made more money than other mainstream big blockbusters and superhero movies? Bye-bye, my friends.
See you, chump.